Zombie. Halloween had always been my favorite holiday. The thrill of dressing up in spooky costumes and roaming the neighborhood in search of candy was something I looked forward to every year. The October air was crisp as I donned my zombie costume, completed with tattered clothes and pale makeup. My friends and I had planned to meet up and hit the houses in our quiet suburban neighborhood for some trick-or-treating fun. Little did I know that this Halloween would become a real-life horror story. As we embarked on our candy quest, the sky was already dark, and the moon cast a weird glow on the empty street. My friends and I laughed and chatted as we went from house to house, eagerly collecting our sweet rewards. But as we approached the end of the block, we noticed something unusual. A house at the corner, which had always been a part of our trick-or-treat route, had a weird vibe that set it apart from others. The windows were shrouded, and a faint flickering light emanated from a single jack-o'-lantern on the porch. Despite our apprehension, curiosity, of course, got the better of us. We decided to approach the house, drawn by the allure of mystery. As we climbed the steps to the porch, I couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding, like a knot tightening in my stomach. I rang the doorbell, and a moment later, the door creaked open, revealing an elderly man in tattered clothing that resembled a costume, but it was hard to tell. His eyes were vacant, and his smile was unnaturally wide. We of course said trick or treat, and we said it nervously, holding our bags. The man simply stared at us for a long, uncomfortable moment before finally reaching into a bowl and dropping a single piece of candy into each of our bags. His movements were slow and deliberate. As we turned to leave, the man's voice finally appeared. Raspy and cold, he said, "Do you want to see something truly scary?" My friends and I exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of what to do. We reluctantly disagreed, and the man still beckoned us inside. Turning around, we had no idea what to do, so being idiots, we still followed him in. Our hearts raced as we followed the man down a hallway into a dimly lit room. What we saw there would forever haunt our nightmares. The room was filled with grotesque, lifelike mannequins dressed in tattered costumes. He had drawn faces on the mannequins like they were in incredible pain. My friends and I quickly exchanged panicked glances, realizing we needed to escape this house. We made a hasty excuse and bolted from the house, running as fast as our trembling legs could carry us. We never went to that house again in our trick-or-treat adventures. We didn't dare to tell our parents, out of the simple fear that they wouldn't believe us, and that we had made an incredibly horrible decision. Halloween dares. This year, we decided to take our Halloween adventure to the next level by daring each other to spend the night inside a decrepit structure. The house had been empty for as long as anyone could remember, its windows shattered and its wooden siding peeling away. Over the years, it had become the subject of countless rumors and ghost stories among the neighborhood kids. No one dared to enter, especially after dark. On the night of Halloween, we gathered outside the house, our flashlights and costumes at the ready. I was dressed as a vampire, complete with fake fangs and a flowing black cape. My friends, Sarah, Mark, and Alex, were equally spooky in their own costumes. We stood before the house, our excitement mixing with nervous anticipation. The air was chilly, and the moon cast shadows over the overgrown yard. Sarah was the first to speak up. "Okay, who's going in first?" she asked, a hint of unease in her voice. Mark, the bravest of us all, stepped forward. "I'll go, but only if someone comes with me." Alex and I agreed, and together we pushed open the creaking front door, our flashlights revealing the decaying interior. The air was musty and damp, and the walls were covered in peeling wallpaper. Our footsteps were echoing as we ventured deeper into the house. It was filled with abandoned furniture, covered in dust and cobwebs. As we explored the first floor, the atmosphere grew increasingly unsettling. It felt as though the walls themselves were watching us, and the shadows seemed to shift and dance in response to our presence. We decided to head upstairs, our flashlights guiding us along the narrow, creaking staircase. Each step felt like a step into the unknown, and not only that, but like we were gonna fall into the ground. We finally reached the landing, where a long, dark hallway stretched before us. As we ventured down the hallway, we heard a sudden noise, like a faint whisper. It sounded like somebody was there, waiting at the end of the hallway. Mark, the bravest of course, took the lead once again, slowly opening the door to the room. Inside, our flashlights revealed an old, dusty crib. It was then we realized the sound was an eerie lullaby of the wind outside. Relieved laughter escaped our lips, but we realized we weren't entirely out of the woods just yet. The atmosphere inside the house remained oppressive, and our imaginations were running wild. As we descended the stairs, I glanced back one last time at the old crib in the room. Part of me thinks I was going crazy, but the second I looked that way, I saw a little face peer out from that door we just exited from. Quickly looking away, I decided to hurry down the stairs and get out as quick as possible. That night, we realized that sometimes the most terrifying things should be left alone, especially on Halloween. Ghosts and Goblins. This Halloween would be a night I'd never forget, and it had nothing to do with ghosts or goblins. I was 12 years old at the time, and my best friend Lily and I had planned to trick-or-treat together, as we had every year since we were little. Dressed as a werewolf, I could barely contain my excitement as I waited for Lily to arrive at my house. When she finally did, she was in a fantastic witch costume, completed with a pointy hat and a broomstick. We set out, our pillowcases ready to be filled with candy, the leaves crunching beneath our feet as we walked from house to house. The sun had set, and our Halloween adventure was ready to go. We giggled and shared spooky stories as we made our way to the neighborhood, our bags growing heavier with each successful candy haul. As the night went on, we noticed something peculiar. Some of the houses we approached had their lights off, indicating that they weren't participating in the Halloween festivities. That was unusual for our neighborhood, where everyone would usually join in on the fun. We shrugged it off at first, thinking that maybe the residents were simply out or had run out of candy, but the pattern continued, and soon we realized that the darkened houses formed a strange path leading deeper into the neighborhood, away from the well-lit streets. Curiosity got the better of us. Lily suggested that we'd go and check it out. I of course hesitated, but I said, let's go do it. We followed the trail of the dark houses, the silence growing more pronounced as we ventured farther from the bustling streets. After a while, we reached the end of the darkened path, and there, standing alone on the desolate street, was a dilapidated old house. It loomed ominously in the darkness, its windows boarded up. Lily, maybe we should turn back, I suggested, but Lily, ever the brave one, was undeterred. Come on, just one more house. It's Halloween after all. Reluctantly, I followed her up the creaking porch steps and to the front door. She rang the bell, and we waited in silence. No one answered, and we were about to turn away when we heard a strange, faint noise, like someone muttering to themselves. We knew we should leave, but we wanted to check it out. Inside the house, as we looked through the window, the whispering grew louder, and we realized it was coming from an open door right behind the main door. That door seemed to lead to a kitchen, and inside that kitchen revealed an elderly woman hunched over in a wheelchair. She seemed to be lost in her own world, muttering to herself incoherently. Lily and I exchanged a mixture of fear and pity. It became clear that we'd stumbled upon a house that time had forgotten, and an elderly resident who needed help more than candy. We decided to leave a bag of candy at the door and quietly left. As we stepped outside of our premises, we never spoke again of that night, because that memory had stayed with us for a long time to come.